Hello and welcome to Life Problems, brought to you by Wheelchair Gamer. I'm Ricky, that's Wheels,
What
and
up?
that's Glitch.
Yo, world. How
Hey, you
goes it?
Welcome to the
got the
chat.
head point right. You didn't do the opposite for
I I practiced. I
you
learned it.
learned.
Over here's Wheels. Over here's Glitched. Finally learned
Yay!
my lefts from my rights.
See, we're
Woohoo!
developing the craft. We're one step forward. And
It's
may,
possible to teach an old
Indeed.
horse new tricks.
yeah. See, guys, there is hope. There is
Yeah,
hope.
there we go. And then next week I'll fuck it up on purpose, just to
Yeah, why keep something? Why keep something good? You know.
I
yeah.
mean, no, it's
Can't
more
make,
like why mess with a good thing? I mean, it was working before, so
Yeah,
yeah, there we
exactly.
go.
So
Gotta give
this
you
correction,
guys
while
something to
correct,
make fun
isn't
of.
correct. Yeah, this correction, while correct, is not accurate.
well,
Exactly.
how was everybody's
Eh,
week?
Pretty good.
Not too bad. It's slightly busy, I guess. I don't know. Nothing too exciting. Just doctor's appointments, getting a physical done. Um, yeah, that's about. No, I set up a driving appointment finally for the end of March, which was good too. So
Is this with that place that one guy gave you the number for? That took
no, a
forever.
different place. No, this is from the DRS. They helped me out with this one. So
Oh, okay.
it's a place in Frederick, Maryland.
Department of Aging and
Aging and Rehabilitation Services.
Yeah, it used to be
Something we can
something
get
else.
into.
Stars.
Dars.
Mhm. But other than that,
Dar.
I have a
big
different
place.
name for them for different reasons that I will not say on stream because it contains a potentially offensive term. So,
Well, I can understand that. I think a lot of us being handicapped can kind of understand why we have certain feelings about uh, bureaucracies. That is the government. you know, with a
It's a
lot of
love-hate relationship when it comes to them.
social programs. You know what I mean? Like you start going on like, oh, how much you love Social Security, how much you love DMV and other fun state-run
mm-hmm.
organizations. they
Yeah,
cert they
good
cert
intentions, but not always the best execution. But in
right.
the end,
Yeah.
if it can help, it can help. And so far, this is like what my third time going through with them, and I think so far it's going so good and
Yeah, I mean,
going pretty good.
sometimes you got to give a little bit of a push. I've noticed, but you got to be willing to push and be an advocate. I think that's a super important thing when you are a handicapped person. Like you can't be quiet. Like you can't be quiet and just expect like, oh, fill out this paperwork and stuff to happen. You just can't do that. It just doesn't work that way. From my own experience, I've noticed. But some organizations you don't have that. Like, I'm glad that you haven't had a large amount of pushback and you've been able to do these things. That's fucking cool. It's a good thing. So, yeah, why complain about something that isn't, I mean, I'm glad you've had a good experience. I mean
No,
I've
no, I
had
haven't.
Oh, you haven't.
Not in the
Okay.
past. Like I said, this is like my third time going through them.
Oh, okay. Where they haven't actually done anything. I thought you meant that they had done something.
No, this time I'm saying seems to be more of a pleasant experience going
Ah,
through.
gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so you got to dip your toes in the water more than once and see how it
Right.
goes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. My week was it was a week. I got new tires on my wheelchair. That happened. So that was cool. You know, they were kind of like racing slicks at this point. So,
Oh god, yeah, not good for the snow.
yeah, definitely not good for the snow. And then yeah, I haven't really, I got really into been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online and then got into
Nice.
building Gundam models.
That's fun.
Yeah, I built my first one. Kind of fucked it up a little bit, but it does look like a Gundam, so mission accomplished.
Never got into building models or Gundams, but they seem cool.
Also been watching the original show for that too.
Nice.
Yeah. And then Glitch, what about you? Minecraft, Phil? Still in the Minecraft?
Indeed. I'm getting ready to start messing around with some other games too, though.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Anything particular? Or are you going to keep us in anticipation?
I'm waiting on Monster Hunter Rise to come out next year.
That did look pretty cool.
Indeed.
Sweet. Well,
Good talk, guys.
good talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess speaking of DARs, moving on to our topic of the week is working with a disability and job employment and such.
Yeah.
So, whoever wants to take it off, take it.
Well, I've had a number of jobs. Some that I got the regular, just the ordinary way that anybody else would. Not doing anything really special. I mean, I worked a series of retail jobs and stuff. Um,
What
you
jobs
know,
have you worked?
let's
Actually, let's
see.
start off with that. What jobs have we all worked?
Okay, all right. So, the first job that I ever had was for the Potomac Nationals, which, well, it was Potomac Nationals. Then I was a ticket taker, and I got like maybe 4 hours at the for the whole thing, and then it's like $5 an hour back then, I think, or some shit. And then I worked for CVS as a cashier. Then after that, I went to Walmart, and then let's see, Walmart. Then I went to Best Buy. Then I went to this, what was it, IT? Yeah, it was like an IT firm place. That didn't work out too well. Then we had
Or as little juice as possible.
Then I went back to Best Buy, I think. Yeah, I went back to Best Buy to do Geek Squad. Yeah, I went back to Best Buy to do Geek Squad. Now I work for the IRS. So,
What was Geek Squad like? What did you do there?
basically, I did consultations. Like, people would bring in their shit. I would tell them what was fucked up with it and tell them, hey, this is what this is going to cost. And I do think from that experience, though, I feel like Geek Squad can be a little bit unreasonable with the pricing, and I feel like there are some places that suck for it. Like, I've heard some really bad horror stories about some really bad Geek Squad shops. So I can only speak for mine. I mean, the guys that I worked with were great, and they did good work and honest work. But I think there probably are some bad eggs like within the company for that, unfortunately.
I
Um,
bet.
but I did like the job. I liked it a lot. I mean, but sometimes it was annoying when you would have someone that, it's like, do you want me to be am I the technician or you? Like someone would try to act like they were going to diagnose it. It's like, well, why don't you take it home and you figure it out then? you
Mm-hmm.
know, always like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have similar stories for that. What jobs have you held, Glitch?
I've only had an internship.
Really?
Yeah, two of them.
What were they?
One was at Heart of Texas Independent Living Center. They do a lot of like best way I can describe it is assistive device testing.
Okay.
Like if you need, for example, a screen reader or a or something of that nature, you go in there and they've got a demo station set up with a couple of different options on it that you can sit down and play with. They didn't really work with low vision tech that much. They mostly worked with tech for kids who were nonverbal communication. They had a lot of that. A little bit of low vision tech, not much. But I did research on technologies for them and things that they could potentially sell in their shop, because they had a little bitty knickknacks shop for more everyday devices type thing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And the other one?
The other one, I worked as the assistant to the campus tech support at ITT when I was going to school there.
Oh yeah, ITT. Oh man, I think they had a falling out or something. Their whole thing went like kapooey.
Don't even get me started on ITT.
Yeah, we already have talked about it in depth
Yeah,
before.
we have in detail.
Yes, yes, yeah. And then what about you, Ricky?
I've only ever had one job, and before my disability and after my disability, which is at the bike shop, A1 Cycling. And after I broke my neck, I ended up going back there 2 years later and worked there for 2 years. And then um, one winter, they had to cut my hours because there wasn't enough hours to go around, and
Yeah,
I never went back. And then I kind of just did nothing for a couple years until I decided to go back to school, and now
right.
I'm on the ends of finding a job right now. But I loved working at that shop. It was great. If I could make a living off doing it forever, I would have.
Well, because bikes is something that you really
Oh
love.
yeah, I love bikes. I'm a pretty good people person, so I was good with customers, and it was just good atmosphere, good people working there. Mostly good people. You came across a couple rotten apples every now and then, but
I mean,
what
that
can you do?
fucking happens, dude.
But that's what I was saying. I can relate to the whole point of like, um, what's it called? People trying to self-diagnose their problems and be like, "All right, then what?" Like people will try and tell me like, "Oh, this is what's wrong with the bike and bike," and like I put it up in the bike stand and be like, "No, this is what's going on with with your bike," and they'll be like, "No, I'm pretty sure it's this." I'm like, "No, it's not." But if you want to try and tackle it yourself, I don't know why you brought it in here. Be my guest.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I think you would know something about them. I mean, you know, just maybe a
Hmm.
little bit.
Yeah, but what were some challenges you guys came across when in your times of work or work related experience through internships?
I mean, I think one of the things that I dealt with I felt like there was some discrimination that was done because I felt like maybe some of my hours were lessened due to the fact that someone had a problem with me. I don't know why that was, and I brought it up to the boss, and then things got really weird. So that's why I ended up leaving that job, was because I was just like, okay, well, this obviously has gotten awkward. So then I moved to Walmart. Walmart, I ended up, I would never suggest anybody work there. They're a shit company. They treat their people like shit for the most part. Depends on the managers, though. I mean, I've heard of people having good managers, and that does make the difference. So I'm not saying every store is shit. I'm just speaking from my own experience and some others that I know, their experience. I ended up not really liking it, and I got to the point where I just wasn't really giving a fuck. I was clocking out whenever I decided I wanted to clock out, and I was like, let's just quit before we get fired. So I was like, it's time to go. It was 3 years, and I was just like, nah. I was just like, if I'm doing shit like this, I don't wanna go out on a bad note like that. So I quit while I was ahead, and then Best Buy though, I think they treat their people great. I think they're a great company to work for. Um, I think they're awesome. I think they're a really cool company to work for. Plus, they have this kick-ass discount that's fucking amazing. I'm not going to go too much into that because, well, I don't think I could get in trouble for it, but I don't want to roll the dice too much here. But I am saying that that
Right.
is one of the perks to it. It was pretty nice. The IT job, that was just the stress was unbelievable. I started to get panic attacks. I actually got in a head-on collision on the way to work, and that was when I was like, "Fuck this." I decided that it wasn't worth it because I was getting heart palpitations all the time. I was stressing the fuck out.
What job?
It was this job called Mindshift, which was a IT firm that basically did help desk stuff. Like people would call in and you'd have to fix their computer type deal. It was a pretty high stress environment a lot of times. Um, I think if I, I think if I was, I think if I was to have an opportunity to do it again, I think I would be able to take it on a lot easier. But I think the biggest problem was the commute. I think that was really the issue because I was traveling all the way to Sterling, and it was like an hour drive every morning, basically 45 minutes to an hour, and I had to get up at like 5 in the morning. So it was rough on my body, I think, and I think it just paid its toll. Um, so those were some of the things that I kind of dealt with. I mean, I guess also needing extra help a little bit. Like for instance, like if I couldn't reach something or um, something like that. Like with the computers, they would have to carry them obviously because I couldn't do it. Um, so a lot of times there'd be extra work, but I mean, it didn't seem like anybody really had an issue of helping me. Like I've never ran into where someone was that much of a dick where they didn't want to help a dude in a wheelchair. I mean, I'm not like I'm just saying like you have to be a pretty shitty person to like not want to help someone with that.
Right.
But I mean, there are people out there. I know there are. I know they exist. Some of them are just ignorant. Like a lot of times, what would happen is that it'd be like someone would be like, kind of expect me to grab the thing, and it's like, do you see why? I mean, do you see maybe I need a little bit of help with this? Like I mean, that happened a few times, but I wouldn't. I would say most people were kind enough to, you know, work with me on that. Um,
Yeah.
so so I'd say most places were pretty accommodating. I don't know. I mean, what it what about with you guys?
I mean, when I
My
worked at A1, there wasn't. They just kind of divvied my responsibilities. Like obviously I wasn't working on bikes anymore, but I just basically went all the way to sales and answering phones. So I'd walk around the store, waiting for customers to come in, and I'd be the first to greet, and then I'd also just be the be the salesman and be like, "Hey, this, and that." And all the employees were great. They'd be like, "Hey, can you help get this bike down for me for this customer?" As I talk them through everything, and it was always funny when people like you'd always see these people at first be like, "Oh, so this guy thinks he knows what he's talking about with bikes." And I've had an instance where I remember, this one person was like it they didn't directly say it, but every time I answered something like that, I answered them a question about bikes and stuff, they looked at my manager, and then they would ask him something, and I was like, "Okay." And then luckily, my manager being good guy he is, was just like, "Ricky knows what he's talking about, you should just listen to him, you don't need me." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I do." And, like, more often than not, I'd prove to them, like, "Yeah, trust me, I know what the fuck I'm talking about with bikes and stuff." And, other than that, there really wasn't too much they had to do. I mean, everyone was super cool, and, if I needed help with something, everyone was eager to jump and help, and I it just, you can't make a living off that kinda
Yeah,
job forever, so
yeah,
that's why, I had to go back to school, and now I'm in the midst of job hunting and stuff.
well, did you have I mean, you had experience from like just from BMXing, like having to repair your bike. I'm sure, right? Like, I mean, that was and
Yeah, like, I
upgrade it.
worked at the same bike shop before my accident too for 2 years.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I had all kinds of experience working on bikes and everything already, and yeah, just took kept that knowledge carried over to my next time.
well, it's like it's like, well, I mean, if people wanted to put it in perspective, they're like, I love BMXing so much that I'm in a chair because of it. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, how much more could you
Well,
fucking love the sport? Like that, I'm not saying that that's like, I know, I know it's not like a
yeah, it was always
positive
funny when
thing.
people asking about why I was in the chair, and then when I would go to sell them helmets, and I'd tell them, be like, "Yeah, if I were wearing a helmet, I would have died in my accident because it would have given my spinal cord just the extra leverage to completely internally sever my neck."
Yeah.
And
Mm.
they're always like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, but you should still buy a helmet. I'm the outlier. I'm the exception.
That's
I'm not the
actually
rule."
really interesting. That's actually really interesting to know because it's like I always thought I was like, well, I mean, I thought you weren't wearing a helmet. I was like, well, I wonder if that was part of it. But I mean, obviously, it's not like I don't know how you really asked someone about that because I was like, maybe it's a sore subject. But at this point, I know you well enough to know that that's not a big deal to ask you, and you're not going to be like, you're not going to be a prick about it, or you're not going to be like, oh, we can't talk about that. Like I realize that now, but I wondered if that played a role. I just wasn't sure, because I was just like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, there was only a few people that I even knew that actually like were good enough to be able to even like grind with a fucking BMX bike. I don't know anybody else who could fucking do that besides like maybe one other dude. Like so I I knew that you were like I don't know. I was just kind of surprised because I don't know. But anyways, that's kind of interesting about helmets though, how they can kill you too.
Yeah, like I said, though, I'm
Yeah.
the exception, not the rule.
Right. Yeah. And then I think Glitch, you were about to say something about your experience, I think.
I honestly didn't have much of an experience, to be truthful.
Really?
It was pretty boring.
Well, what were some of the duties that you were responsible for, if any?
So like whenever I did the first one, it was just sit at a computer all day and look stuff up online.
Really? What
It
would
was
people
boring.
call, or would people ask you questions like?
I would get the occasional phone call that I would have to route to the right place,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately it wasn't very intrusive at all as far as what to do. It was pretty boring because I almost never got a call.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like it. Um, and which one was this at?
This was the Heart of Texas Independent Learning Center.
And then there's another place you said.
Yeah, working at ITT, I just had to walk around the campus and make sure all of the desks were wiped down and classrooms were cleaned because that was part of my duties as well. There usually wasn't anything. It was mostly just disinfecting keyboards, desks around the computers to keep them running clean. And if students came in with a problem with their school issued laptop, every now and then I would have to reflash the image,
Ah,
which
okay.
was pretty much nothing. Just take it back to back office and plug it in.
Oh wow. So not too
Mm-hmm.
much in the way of like issues with like obstacles when it came to the accessibility of like not and nobody providing help or anything like that. It seems like that was seemed like it was pretty much wasn't all that much to do.
I didn't really need a lot of help.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Um.
Any plans for future employment?
I would love to. If I can find someone who's willing to hire a blind PC repair guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I don't really know what the future holds for me. I mean, this IRS job sucks. To be honest with you, it's boring as fuck. It pays well. And it allows me to be able to do the things that I want to do, which is doing the streaming and all that stuff. Of course, my expectation in that, I don't really know what it is anymore. I enjoy this. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy what I'm doing here. I would love to do it full time. That would be cool. But I mean, I guess I'm kind of just seeing what happens. I'm not saying that it's not a possibility, but I'm not saying that you know, let's face it. I mean, streaming and stuff. It's not it's not a quick rich. It's not a get rich quick scheme at all by any means. You have to actually enjoy this shit if you want to do it. Like, people don't just do this. I don't know. It's just something that takes time, and it's taken a lot of evolution. And I think also this year just hit me really hard mentally in a lot of ways, unfortunately. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm dealing with it, but things are getting better. So, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I don't know what it will really hold, but I want to, you know, I enjoy what I'm doing. So,
Right. Well, one thing for sure is, if you have a disability, it makes getting a job even harder. Let's just drop some little facts and figures here really quick that for in 2019, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that 19.3% of persons with a disability were employed, which is a fairly low number if you ask me. So it already seems like what's it called? The odds aren't in our favor.
right. That's not really a great number.
And
No, it's not.
That's kind of alarming, actually.
but in that same paper from the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the work. I mean, of course, this is from 2019. This is from. Obviously they haven't dropped 2020 statistics yet, so these numbers could vary very wide. I mean, differently, but the unemployment rate for both persons with and without disability declined from 17.3 and 3.5%. So, and then 2020 went and just fucked all that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
we'll say, people employ employed people with disabilities were more likely to be self-employed than those with no disability, which I mean makes to me makes sense because you gotta pave
Yeah.
your own path at that point.
Yeah. That's actually really true. I think Glitch and I have seen that within our community. A lot of well, a lot of the folks in the streaming community, especially in the disabled, um, turned to streaming because of this very thing. I've had this conversation over and over again. I'm sure you have too, Glitch, where the person pretty much says that, oh, I can't be in a workplace because of such and such, and it just is easier for me to try to seek employment in this way than any other way. So streaming definitely seems kind of like and making content in general seems like a kind of a good source of income potentially if you do things right. Which I mean, I don't know, like, or if you're successful, if you do well, because I mean, it's hard to do well on though, because there's a lot of people doing it, but there are a lot of people that
Yeah,
turn to that sort of thing. Um, Maybe even making crafts from home. Like I know there's people that do like Etsy stuff, and I think some people may make a killing on there if they make good enough stuff and people like to buy it. I mean, people like artsy shit.
yeah. The interesting thing about this paper that I found
Hmm.
from the Bureau of Disability Statistics, blah blah blah. Well, it took into account, people that weren't in the workforce at all, and that includes people who are neither employed or unemployed. They just weren't in the labor force, and a large portion of person with disability, about 8 in 10 people with disabilities were not in the workforce at all, as opposed to people with no disability, that's 3 in 10. It's 3 in 10,
Hmm.
Wow.
Damn.
which just goes
That
to show that
is impressive numbers.
it just goes to show that there's some kind of, disconnect between having a disability and whether it's worth it to even have an employment opportunity or that there is no employment opportunity, it's one of those numbers that makes you question what is the motives behind those people that aren't in the labor force at all, whether it's discouragement or, not that what is the word I'm looking for? Um, discouragement or, discrimination, you know?
To be honest, I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, of course, but
Because from what I've noticed, just from my personal experiences, the discrimination I've faced in the past has discouraged me from trying again.
what kind of discrimination? Like, do you have an example offhand?
Actually, I do.
Hmm.
My roommate currently works at a website doing in-home tech support
Okay.
type stuff, right?
Right.
And he basically got his job through me helping him out with the initial test that he had to do. And I applied, like I asked for the job. I did apply fully.
Uh huh.
But instead of getting the job, they gave it to him, even though I helped him out with all the answers. And it was just because they weren't sure that I could work the phone program.
Yeesh. Did you ever do anything with that? Did you ever report them to the Better Business Bureau or any type of disability services,
What would have been the point?
uh, to help not just you, but anyone else seeking employment?
Hmm.
Big business, big corporations, they can pretty much run circles around all that. They can justify.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I think it's one of those things. Maybe you just, I don't know. I understand. I've been in the situation where I just moved on from the job because I felt like I was being discriminated. I was just like, all right, if they feel this way, then I'm going to put myself somewhere else. But I mean, I don't have any hardcore proof that's what happened, but it's all speculation. But I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
just seemed kind of odd how everybody else's hours were just fine, but you know, you drop the hours of the handicap guy because maybe he's less useful. I'm just saying it's a little bit weird if I'm the only one whose hours are getting cut. I'm just saying it's hard for me not to see that as discrimination.
Do you think it could have been you because you were a bad employee, not just because of your disability?
I don't think I was a bad employee though. I mean, I always was polite. I was always punctual. I never did anything that would, that was, subpar to standards of like what anybody else could do. Um, I mean, like I said, if there was a line or something, I would always get it taken care of really fast. You know, I would change prices if I needed to. Like, I did what I was told. So I don't know. It was just a weird situation, and eventually I was just like, I saw the opportunity that a Walmart was opening up, and I knew that I would get guaranteed 40 hours a week. So I did that.
Yeah,
And it
I
was a
don't
good
blame
job
you.
for a while. Then I got a shitty manager, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a shitty manager. I mean, that didn't have to do with any discrimination. It was just they just treated everybody like shit. You know,
Right.
so a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
dehumanizing, which I mean, I guess that is a form of discrimination just in general. I mean, it wasn't from a handicap standpoint, but I mean, it was just like, yeah. Well, they would also expect me to run two departments. Like they would throw me, like they would be like, "Oh, you need to make keys." Like I would go over the handicap guy. No, not anybody else can make keys. I'm the one that needs to know how to do this. Like, I just think that's funny. I think that's funny how there's all these able-bodied people, and yet, like, I just think that's funny. Like, I'm not saying that that means a handicapped guy can't do it, but I'm just saying that I think that's it's kind of funny. Like with it's kind of like the same thing with my friends, how they don't drive and stuff. I think it's funny how I'm the more dependable one when it comes to the ride. you know?
Right.
So
Well, you have more to lose, you know?
exactly. But I think it's I don't know. I think it's one of those things. I think discrimination comes in all sorts of forms. I mean, did you? What about you, Ricky? Did you ever feel any discrimination?
No, not any other than that one instance I told you where it was mainly on the customer's end, not on
Right.
employment end. But
Yeah, because that kind of sounds like that kind of goes back to that whole thing where I don't know if you've seen this before. It's never like it's happened to me before where someone was talking to my mom about things they were asking about me, and I'm like right there, and I'm like, hey, I can like respond, right? I'm not non-responsive. Like that shit. That is one of my pet peeves, and I've seen it happen though in a work-related situation where, it's like someone thinking that the credibility is lost because someone, you know, is in the chair,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that doesn't mean that your knowledge base all of a sudden is gone just because you're in a chair or you can't be knowledgeable on things. I mean, they're making
Oh, I know
assumptions.
that feeling. I've
They're
seen that happen out in public to myself.
Yeah, they're making assumptions, like for instance, Ricky, they don't even know anything. They don't know you from Adam. They don't know that I mean, isn't it possible that someone could have gotten injured and they were a BMX person before? Like isn't that possible? Like people don't people obviously aren't going to come to that conclusion, but I'm just saying like I think the point that I'm trying to make is that I think assumptions lead
well, there's
to
handicapped cyclers too.
yeah, that's true too. And so I think it's more of just an ignorance thing a lot of times, but I think there's some people
Hmm.
that I don't I think it's beyond ignorance. I think they're actually actively think that less of that person. So I mean, mostly what I've come across is mostly ignorance, I think, more so than anything. But there's been a few instances where someone was just really fucking rude, and they just didn't care. So not
Right.
not not in a job, but like for instance, like someone parking in a handicapped space, and they're like, "Oh, I don't care." Like I've had someone give a response similar to that, where it's like, "Oh, that's nice. Thanks for your compassion."
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, you have a job now. Have you ever used disability services to get a job?
Um. Well, okay. So the way the process worked through, I tried actually using disability services, and they did like a job training thing that I went through and stuff.
Which
I don't know.
service?
I think it was DARS, Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, in case you're wondering. Um, I don't know if that's like federal. I think it's state by state.
Yeah, it's state by state.
So it may be different somewhere else. I don't know if they all call themselves DARs. Maybe they do. I don't know. It
I
may
think
be
they
different.
do, but each state
Okay.
has
DARS
their
is
own.
a federal organization, but it's state controlled.
Right. Okay. That's what it is. So, anyways, I don't know. I thought they had some good resources, but I think that I don't know. I think that their process is a little bit slow. Like I tried to go through the process of getting like a Schedule A letter to be able to get hired in the government, and I know they were doing a big push to hire handicapped people. I don't really see that. I don't. I mean, they say they were. I applied tons of times on USA Jobs and never heard back, not even once. So I eventually what I ended up doing is I got fed up and I was just like, fuck using this service. I'm going to just do it the old school way and get it. But the job that I currently have, I work through an organization called NTI, which I've worked with them before. And NTI basically the way that they figure it out is they figure out that if you have a disability and stuff, you go through this whole process. You do like a general training where it teaches you like how to do general phone service, and then basically once you've kind of passed that, it opens you up to be able to do jobs through them. um, and then the IRS became availability, and the whole thing with them is it's work from home jobs, and it's a lot of times it's like support desk type stuff. Some of it's IT related. In this case, it's for the IRS, so it's pretty cushy. I mean, it's got benefits, and it's a little bit boring as hell, but I mean, it's a good job for someone that works from home. Basically, people call in and they're looking for forms. I help them get forms. That's basically what I do. So, but NTI, their process is really interesting, and I think they do a good job of like you can send them your ticket to work basically, which is something I believe it's something through the Social Security that basically makes sure that you assign your ticket to work with this company, and basically it makes sure that one of the things they also make sure of is they make sure that your hours don't go over or they don't go over what would be acceptable for SSI or Social Security. So that's kind of nice, um, because that's a consideration for some people. Um, that they may need that disability in order to buy equipment or whatever. So, having a job could affect that potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the cool things about that. I mean, I would recommend it to anybody. It's a good organization, I think.
NTI.
Yeah, NTI Work at Home. That's their website.
Yeah. And the good thing about DRS is they do offer vocational rehabilitation services too. So if you don't know what you can be good at or stuff, they offer some kind of, way of figuring out what you could aim at.
Yeah, yeah. There's a place called Woodrow Wilson, I think, that's in. It's like it's down in some bumfuck place in Virginia.
It's a little south of Harrisonburg, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And anyways, basically, people go there, um, and like really all sorts of people. I mean, there's people that are on the spectrum, people that have different disabilities, that go there, and they basically stay there for like a set amount of time, and they basically teach you life skills, like just basic things, but then also vocations. Like they kind of help you figure out like what you may want to end up doing. Um, so that's kind of a cool place that people get involved with to they also do driver evaluations, I think, too. So it's a cool place. I mean, it's definitely that may be something that you know may be helpful to someone, because it kind of narrows it down for you and kind of makes you figure out, okay, this is what I can do, and then yeah, because I think sometimes that's a problem that I think handicapped people run into is that they're like, well, what am I good at? Maybe they don't know. So I think that's a really good service for that.
Right. It's
So
tough though. Like one thing you mentioned that makes finding a job really hard is you have to balance it with Social Security and figuring out like will I lose benefits from working and such, and how
Right.
much can I claim or how much can I earn, and that's one thing which seen a lot that holds people
Hmm.
back from wanting to get a job is because they'll lose a lot of disability benefits and not be able to afford to they'll be basically working to live at that point as opposed to working to just, you know, like working to all their money will basically go into just supporting themselves in a way that's not feasible.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you always got to kind of figure out that whole thing with Social Security. I mean, obviously, the dream would be, to make enough money to where you could sustain yourself without that, but there are certain things with Social Security that do benefit you, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that would look like because to me, I don't really know if I ever will really be in a situation where I'm making a crazy amount of money in my life. I mean, I'm not trying to sell myself short, but I just honestly don't know.
Do you
What
claim do you collect Social Security though?
I do collect Social Security, yes.
Do you
You
glitched?
I do as well. It's SSI, supplemental security. I have not worked enough in my life to get full Social Security disability.
Yeah, because mine's SSD at this point.
Yeah, mine too.
Like they switched it at
Whereas
some
I
point,
just have SSI.
and I don't know why they did. I don't remember. Do you recall as to why they changed that? I didn't really know. They just kind of told me one day that
I
oh
think I think it's because we have workforce experience.
yeah
Yep.
yeah I think that's why they decided that, and it was an age factor. I think. I mean, obviously, I mean, already like when do people when does everybody else get Social Security? Like what, 70, 60? It's supposed to be like
65.
55.
65.
Oh, 65. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Somewhere around that point. At retirement age.
I've actually heard though, if you work past a certain point, you end up actually having to pay. So it ends up being less beneficial once you get to that 65 point.
Mhm.
You can work, but I'm just saying, I think eventually, I think you have to end up paying something, or I think you have to start paying at 65, if I remember. Like you have to
Well,
pay
what's
it
nice is
extra.
there are places that obviously they want you to get employments, Just doing a little research earlier, I even found out that monster.com has a whole web page dedicated to finding tips for job hunting with a disability. And they even link you to a couple of different programs too, like the Job Accommodation Network and the Workforce Recruitment Program, which is nice. Recruitment programs, another government run program managed by the Department of Labor that helps disability people find employment
That's really cool.
and recent graduates and stuff.
Yeah, no, that I think that's cool for sure. Like, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of I think there's a lot of opportunities, but I think it's just I think there's a little bit more search. There's a lot more searching, I think, and a lot more stuff to do, I think. Because I mean, yes, I've gotten regular employment where I've worked at like a retail place, but I think when there's significant challenges, I think that's when it becomes an issue. And I think I really like the working from home thing. Like I really like the fact that I could work from home. It's pretty awesome. Even though it's not the most exciting job, but it's the convenience of being able to work from home with a disability is really nice because my house is set up for me. I don't have to worry about going to some place that's not accessible to me. So
I happen to agree with that.
that part is amazing about it. Again, not the most exciting work, but hey, maybe I'll be doing something different there. Maybe eventually I'll be like a manager telling people how to properly handle a call.
Maybe.
We'll see. I need to do my time though.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, if you could
yeah.
find any job, if you could have any job you wanted in the world, regardless of your situation and pay or anything like that, let's say you can get paid $1 million a year for any job out there that you wanted, like even if it was like a gardener, what would you do?
Um probably this. Probably this. I mean, if I were to be
Streaming.
honest. I don't know. I mean, I like the talk show thing. I like doing that mostly about streaming. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why that is. I mean, I think it's just I like creating content. I like the interaction with people. I like the fact that I can do this from my home and I can interact with so many different people from so many different walks of life. And I think it's cool. I think it would definitely be a cool thing, especially if I was able to. I don't know. I just think it'd be a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
Glitched.
I honestly don't know.
Well, throw one out there.
Probably full on PC repair.
Really, that's a passion of yours?
I love messing with computers and working on it.
I mean, I do have I can agree with that too. I mean, that's probably up there for me too. I definitely love that shit. I mean, I love that at Geek Squad. Now, what about you, Ricky?
I'd be an astronaut. No doubt about it. If I could do anything, I'd be an astronaut. I mean, shit, being able to look down at
I
Earth
like that.
and look up at the stars, you know, float in hot and
That was actually my dream as a kid. Never came to fruition though.
well, right now was your chance to make it so.
Oh yeah, isn't there something like I saw where you can sign up to go to Mars and never come back again?
No, I just meant as, choosing your dream job.
Oh, okay. I did see a thing though about going to space though. There's like some
Mhm.
sort of thing that they're doing. Um, yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, that would be cool to go to space.
It would. I definitely someone told me tomorrow, "Hey, you want to go to space?" I'd be like, "Yes, I do."
I would love to. Like,
I wi-
please take me off of this rock.
yeah, I mean, I wish it was just as easy as like how Rick just hops in his ship and takes Morty to space. I've
Hey,
been watching.
holy.
I've been watching that again. But yeah, no. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one to think about because I just think what a crazy job to have though. I mean, just like thinking about that. That's all the things though that they like, typically like what an astronaut usually when you see their resume, it's pretty damn impressive because I mean, these are people
Mhm.
that were usually test pilots in the Air Force a lot of times is one of the big ways that you get there. Um, but I think it's interesting when you see like people that didn't do that. I know I'm going on a bit of tangent, but I just think it's an interesting job to think about. You know, it would be a wild thing. I think it would put some things in perspective. Seeing this blue marble, you know, that's kind of crazy thing to think about.
Absolutely. That's why it's my dream.
Yeah. Maybe
But
someday, commercial space travel will be more of a thing, especially for handicapped people. That'd be interesting.
yeah, until then, I'll have to deal.
I mean, maybe that'll happen in our lifetimes. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's too far fetched. I don't know. I mean, they have autonomous cars now. I mean, what's to say? They haven't got it perfected yet, but I mean, just saying, technology, man.
There's still time.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I'm digressing off of our topic here.
Before we wrap things up, you guys, any other last minute statements you want to add to the employment pool?
I
Not
don't know.
really.
I mean, I would just say that, like, just because you've been a little bit deterred, I mean, there are a lot of resources out there that you definitely can link yourself up with. It's I think there's a lot more opportunity for handicapped people than there used to be, because I think there's a lot more, just like where technology has gotten, a lot of stuff can be at home now. And I think with COVID, I think there's been a lot of jobs that I think are going to probably be more open to you know be more open to this sort of thing. Oh, we got a lurk. Thanks for that. As we're winding down, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Um, yeah, but just don't lose hope. There's a lot of resources out there, and I think just stay positive.
Basically, the same thing. Find some way to educate yourself in a way that markets you to some kind of job market.
Right.
Just educate yourself scholarly and in workforce recruitment programs and disability. Just, you know,
Yeah.
if there's a will, there's a way.
Or if there's a wheel, there's a way.
Where there's a wheel, there's a way.
Uh, any last
All
words,
right.
Glitch?
No, other than if you got a dream, follow it.
I like it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of We Life Problems. Join our Discord and remember, keep it wheel.
Bye bye.
Have a good one.